All right, so hopefully you took the time to do your homework so that you could see if you get this right. So I'm going to go over questions 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to save question 4 for later. So if you haven't done question 4 by the time that I come back, then make sure you do it so that you have an answer to give me whenever we talk about it. So we look at Bob. So Bob has a 60 kilogram mass. What forces are acting on Bob as he stands on the floor? So as you can see, Bob is over here doing nothing with his life. So since he's doing nothing with his life, he's kind of just not even moving in the X direction. He's just existing in the Y direction. So since he's existing in the Y direction, we can state that a force of gravity is being applied onto the ground, and since there's a force of gravity being applied, there's a normal force being countering that. So we know we're given mass m, and we know that there's a force of gravity. So first I'm going to state off that force of gravity is going to be F of g is equal to mg. So since I want to find force of gravity, and I'm given mass, and I already know a set number for g, then I can say that 60 kilograms times g, which is 9.81, and whenever I multiply those together, then I can get the force of gravity, or the weight of this guy. So you might notice that the weight is not usually the same as what you see on a scale whenever you step on a scale. So 588.6 newtons. But if you were to look on a force scale, you would see 588.6 newtons. Also, this is using the metric system, and we don't really use the metric system that much in America because America be America. So that's usually why this is considered the weight. Okay. So in words, I'm going to say that the force of gravity, so I'm going to use complete sentences because we're educated or whatever. So the force of gravity and the normal force act on Bob both magnitudes, and notice I say magnitudes because I'm not focusing on positive or negative, are 500, I'm going to round 89 newtons. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next one says, draw all of the forces that exist on the scaffold. What can you say about the net force? So we're looking at these dudes. So we have 3 things going on here besides the string. So we got this dude, we got this dude, and we have the bar. And besides those 3 things, we also have the string. That was my cat. Yep, that's my cat. Okay, so I'm going to not treat this as one system. So usually if I were to treat it as one system, I would consider it as one dot, but I'll do that later. So let's take the center of mass of this bar. So the center of the mass of the bar will have its own force of gravity. So force of gravity of the bar is what they're standing on. These dudes, so let's say painter guy number 1 has its own weight. So his own weight or force of gravity of this dude. And then painter guy number 2 also has his own force of gravity of dude 2. And also, because there is string, there is a string that is being connected to this bar. So because there is a string, then there is a force of tension due to the string. And the same thing going on here. Okay. So these forces are being applied at those specific points away from the center of mass of the system as a whole. But if I were to draw all of these forces onto this one dot and treat this whole thing as this one dot, then this is what it would look like. Okay, so there would be a lot going on here. Lots of things going on here. So these are the force of tensions going up. And then there's also the two dudes. Yeah, so force of gravity, and then also another force of gravity going on there. It's probably not looking the most gorgeous. So this dot is going to encompass all of these forces. And I would just label it dude, bar, and string. So as a whole, this would be the free body diagram for the entire thing. But as we can see here, these are where all of these forces will originate. So let's go ahead and talk about these last two questions. So these last two questions, sorry, I misspoke. I'm doing questions 1 and 2, 3 and 4. This is your job to think about and just think about what you would say for the question. Try to have an answer ready. You don't necessarily have to be right or wrong. Y'all know how it goes. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, guys.